What's going on, guys, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Hot Games Only. I'm your host, Ethan, and today I'm joined by the one and only Hunter again for his second appearance. How are you doing, Hunter?
Hello, I'm doing swell.
That's good to hear. And then we're also joined by, first time on the show, it's the one and only K Davis SRL himself. It's Kyle. Welcome to the show, Kyle. I feel like we should give you a round of applause for finally showing up on episode 3, you know?
Hey,
like,
you can't hear my claps so much because I have gloves on, but it's there.
Why are you wearing gloves?
I just do.
Oh,
that seems like a question you should just, leave it to the imagination, Kyle. Leave it to the imagination.
You know what? Yeah, you do you, man.
But
we're in a weird time now.
It feels weird because, you know, we've had Jack on this show before you, and that just feels weird. Like, I'll be like, if I was to make a list of everybody that would be appearing on this show that isn't quote unquote a guest, right? We have like anyone that's in the Discord, anyone that's in the Gigas group that people know. I'm not counting as a guest, right? But if I was to list everybody, I would not have put Jack above you because we all know Jack. He does fuck all.
Yeah.
He's right now. He refused to be on the podcast right now because he's too busy having a drunken sesh on Spotify. Yeah, I'm gonna call you out, Jack. I'm gonna call you out. Why not? You know. Anyway,
these are dark times, man. Dude's got to cope.
Yeah, exactly.
Jack's not trying to do online classes in between all this, so.
Yeah, true. You got a point. You know, you got to keep living through these dark times. We can't say the word because we might get. Well, we don't make money off it anyway, so I can't even make a demonetization joke because we're not getting paid. Wonderful. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, welcome to Hot Games Only. That was an interesting intro. Where each and every week, probably, I say that now, I feel like I've made a promise. Hopefully, touch wood. This table, am I right on that? There you go, right. Anyway, every week we come to you to talk about the hottest topics in gaming. This week we have got topics such as Resident Evil 3 first impressions / review because Hunter's already beat it. Persona 5 first impressions, really fucking first impressions because my god, am I nowhere near done with that game. Kyle's going to talk about some game that he's probably played. Woo! I can't wait to hear all about that.
It's
and then
not recent at all.
And then what else is going to appear on the show? Who knows? It depends how much time we fill with those 3 topics. If you don't know, we're on all podcast services. We should be by now. I don't know why we aren't, but we should be on all. Hopefully this week we get approved on all the other podcast services. But you can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Soundcloud. You can find us on YouTube. And you can also find us on Anchor. They have the people that host the podcast for you. They also have a way for you to listen in online. So if you want to do it that way, do it that way. Wherever you do get it, leave a review, leave a thumbs up, leave a follow, whatever you do on Spotify, because Spotify doesn't have anything other than follow, so leave us a follow, I guess. We have a brand new episode every week at 5 p.m. UK time. I'm going to say UK time because it's BST now. It was GMT last week. We're just gonna go with it. But yeah, anyway, with all that out of the way, let's start this week with Resident Evil 3 Remake, Hunter.
Oh boy, yeah, this was a fun thrill ride of a game.
So, if people didn't know, this week's big releases were both Resident Evil and Persona, which luckily we both have someone in the group that likes Resident Evil and someone that likes Persona enough to double dip. So...
Right away, anyway.
Yeah, it seems to be working out. You know, next week we got Final Fantasy VII coming out, which will be very early impressions. I'm honestly thinking of just playing it for an hour for the podcast. So hey, maybe I'll just play the demo again. But no, but we might have some Final Fantasy impressions next week. But yeah, this week, let's talk about Resident Evil 3, which kind of came out of nowhere, I feel. Like,
oh yeah, like it was announced and put out without any delays very quickly. Like I wasn't expecting to get a Resident Evil game a year after the remake. But yeah, here we are. Or the remake of 2, I should say.
Yeah, because it feels like 2 just came out, at least like, to me.
It did. Like it was
a
year
ago.
To Resident Evil.
January.
It's a quick turnaround. It was nominated for Game of the Year last year.
Yeah, and probably only didn't win a few of those because it was a remake.
Hey, you know, what can you do? What can we say? Last year's games were just so great with other nominations for Game of the Year, like The Outer Worlds, you know, and stuff like that. It was real. Yeah. To be fair, Sekiro, from what I've heard from people, I have a friend called Eamon who's a big Dark Souls fan. He loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I can see why that would win, you know, but last year, I feel like Resident Evil 2 really did connect with people.
Yeah, it
Like,
was.
I'm not a big Resident Evil fan, right? And even I saw that everyone was loving that game.
Yeah, it was really good. As for 3, I don't like it quite as much, but I still think it's rather good at what it's doing. It's more action oriented. I felt myself, like in Resident Evil 2 when I played, I found myself more trying to maneuver around the zombies rather than engaging them actively. So I would have a lot of ammunition and stuff in later parts because I just didn't shoot them. In Resident Evil 3, they tend to just give you loads and loads of it all the time.
Okay.
So is it more in the style of like Resident Evil 4 and 5?
Closer to 4, not as quite as bad as 5 because this is, actually scary sometimes still. But yeah.
I assume the controls are better than 4 though.
Yeah, the controls are mostly the same as like in 2, except with some added goodies. Like Jill has this move where you can dodge away, which is something you couldn't do in 2. And if you time it right, you'll do a cool little rolling maneuver and then get like a slow motion opportunity for a headshot.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. A very nice little bit of risk reward to how you want to engage things.
Nice. So how was the quality then? Is the quality still there as it was with 2? Like,
I would say so. There are certain areas where 2 is better. Like, it's interesting because visually on like just looking at them, they look largely the same. But if you look at some of the details, and I think there's reasons that 3 falters in some of it as opposed to 2. Like 2, if you would shoot a zombie in the arm several times, their arm would fall off and you'd see like a very gory depiction of their arm slowly like peeling off of the rest of it. In
Nice.
Resident Evil 3, if you like shoot a limb, it just kind of explodes after a little bit. I think that's probably symptomatic of there being more zombies on the screen at once in this game. Rather than
cool.
Resident Evil 2, you only engaged like at max like 5 or so at a time, unless you were doing like the 4th survivor scenario after you beat the game.
Yeah, which you'd hope there'd be some replayability there because of how short it is.
Yeah.
I think people have heard by now, if they're listening to this podcast, that the game's pretty short.
Yeah.
To put it, what was your playtime again?
The game told me I clocked in at 6 hours. I don't think that factors in the times that I died and the time I lost from that. So it was closer to like I was playing it for more like 7.
Okay.
But after you beat the game, first of all, there's like unlockable difficulties. So there is replay value there, along with like, depending on how well you get through the game, you get like points afterwards that you can use to like buy neat little weapons that you'll start the game with. So it encourages you to play more than once.
That's nice.
Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to bring up, I'll let Kyle ask something eventually. Sorry, Kyle.
No worries.
But one of the things that I wanted to bring up, which I want to know if you noticed, was obviously these games were both this and Resident Evil 2 were in development at the same time.
Yeah.
That was obvious because there's no way in hell that they could have made a Resident Evil game in a year.
That would be crazy.
Yeah. But one of the things that someone pointed out to me on Twitter, I believe, I don't remember, was just, for those of you who are unaware, I don't know if you know, Kyle, but Resident Evil 3 kind of takes place slightly before, like, 2? Or simultaneously. Like, it's kind of like in a weird before and
it's real weird. Like
present time.
I even forgot until I got to the part where you go to like the police station and the one cop that you see die and 2 was still there. I was like, oh, weird.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the bit that I wanted to talk about because one of the things that's really, I don't know if the word is impressed me, but I liked a lot in what I've seen of 3 is all of the little callbacks and the Easter eggs to 2 Remake.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact of the things that you see in 3 now, if you actually go back and play 2 afterwards, you'll see that, that stuff actually did happen.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you can see the effects of it.
some of the details in a very interesting manner that way.
Like, I think one of the things that I thought, there was one that was great. There was one that there's one that I saw where there's like a massive hole in the wall in Resident Evil 2 remake,
and then the water is all over the floor. Right?
Yeah, and everyone thought that that'd be like a jump scare or whatever in Resident Evil 3. When it turned out that is it Carl? Is it
Carlos? You end up blowing that wall up with like a detonator,
yeah. And that's how he gets through that way. And then another one I liked was there's a jump scare in a locker in Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
And in Resident Evil 3, not only there's a note on the bench next to it that says, "Hey, basically, there's a zombie locked up in here. Don't let it out." So not only does Carlos lock the thing so like make sure that it can't get out, but also he takes the note with him so that when in Resident Evil 2 you don't have that context to the jump scare, you don't have the note, so there's no warning, so then the jump scare makes sense. Leon and Claire will then open the thing and get the jump scare, which I thought was awesome. It's just like, it's those things where it's like, I know there's a jump scare here, let me try and do it, and then the game's like, oh wait, no, here's a note saying there's something there, don't do it. And I thought that's really cool.
Yeah, it is
like,
really
it's
cool.
something you don't have to do, but the attention to detail in the game is something that I really liked. How's the overall performance, like, in terms of, well, I guess 2 versions of performance? How's it run?
It runs fine. I didn't notice anything, like,
and how's, like, the actual acting performance, should I say?
Oh, it's about what you would expect from a Resident Evil. Well, not quite. It's not quite as bad as, like, the classic, Jill, the master of unlocking, blah, blah. Kind of like...
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. It's not quite that bad. They've managed to ground the performances a little bit. Actually, you know what? I don't remember liking Jill this much when I was playing the original games, and now those are very vague memories for me at this point, so it could just be because it's been a while, but I liked Jill quite a bit in this game.
That's one thing I've heard, is people really like Jill.
Yeah.
The new actor that's playing her.
Yeah, like shooting at Nemesis, yelling "suck it" when you beat the one stage of the boss. It was nice. I was like,
Is he as scary as everyone's making him out to be?
Okay, so the way that Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 go about achieving horror is very different. Like, Resident Evil 2 was very much kind of a creepy atmosphere and more in the quiet moments, whereas Resident Evil 3 in a lot of ways is scary in the same way that a natural disaster is scary. Like, Nemesis is constantly chasing you, and from a mechanic, as a gameplay mechanic, he's less intimidating as Mr. X in a lot of ways, because there's only like a couple sections where I think you could get him to just pop up in a way that isn't scripted, as opposed to Mr. X, where if you're being too loud after he shows up, he will come and, like,
find you.
Yeah, bring his wrath down upon you. But with Nemesis, most of it is scripted, and now these set pieces are really cool as far as, like, when he's chasing you, it's better when you're trying to get somewhere and he's in the way. There are certain sections where he's just kind of chasing you and you're running away and you're just kind of going away and don't have a destination in mind. And that's, like, a lot of those are set pieces leading into the boss fights, but I felt like as a achieving horror type of thing, it's better when you're trying to get somewhere and he's preventing you.
Nice. Well, I'm allowed to questions. Do you have anything, Kyle? Have I forgot about anything?
Yeah. So, Hunter, have you played the original Resi 3?
I don't think I ever played all of it, and if I did, it was a really long time ago, but...
Okay. For, like, the bits and pieces you remember, how do these two compare and contrast with each other?
There were a lot of differences. Like, Nemesis shows up, from what I recall. I guess if I'm wrong, sorry, because I didn't research what the differences were beforehand, but I'm pretty sure Nemesis shows up way earlier.
Yeah, we
in
forgot
this
to
version
make
of the
notes.
Game. Like, Jill is hanging out in this apartment in Raccoon City right as things start to go down. She gets, like, a radio call from Brad Vickers from the first game, I believe. And then, like, after the call is done, Nemesis just bursts through the wall and, like, chucks her around, basically. And I'm like, this seems early.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they moved. Now, this is also something, I haven't even played this game, so yeah, if I'm wrong, that's great. But this is, again, what I've been, the light reading that I've done and what I've heard on Twitter is they moved where the Raccoon City Police Department section actually takes place entirely.
Oh yeah.
You went there a lot earlier, and it was basically near the start of the game where you went there as Jill, and now you're there as Carlos, and
Yeah.
there's no Nemesis to come in.
Hassle you,
Nemesis was in the Raccoon City Police Department in the original, where he's not now.
Yeah, that makes sense. That checks out. I do believe I've heard things about them cutting a section and a boss fight from the original, but I don't remember what it was specifically. From what I hear, that part was kind of a drag anyway. So
Cool.
Some people are upset that it was gone, but it didn't bother me because
Didn't really lose anything big.
Yeah, Nemesis is still there.
Yeah.
One thing I do recall them changing is Nemesis goes through many stages throughout this game. He transforms and such. I feel like he goes from his like big, just hulking brute bipedal, large man form, and jumps into his more monstrous, like bestial form, kind of soon compared to. I feel like the original game, he was menacing you for a lot longer, as as you see him on like the box art and stuff. There was even like a stage, if I recall, where he gets like the top half of his coat blown off, and he's like kind of like how Mr. X is at the end of Resi 2 and Leon's fight with him. But that was completely gone. He just kind of fell into the water at some point in Resi 3 and then mutated in this version. So yeah.
Because one thing I'm going to ask I know we just had a very in-depth talk about this game, then I'm going to ask the most basic of questions now at the near the end of the topic.
Shoot.
But what is Nemesis?
Okay, so
is he like
Resident
a zombie
Evil.
or?
Yes, he is. He's like a super zombie, specifically made to hunt down the members of STARS, the team that, went into the mansion in the first game and uncovered the nefarious Umbrella activities. Nemesis is an offshoot of a tyrant, which is what the T-virus gets its name from. It makes like these tyrant super zombies that are just big. Mr. X is also a tyrant, but he's not quite as like vicious in storyline. Anyway.
Okay, so he's like a souped-up zombie kind of thing, creature. Okay, cool. Just making sure, because I hear these names all the time, because being someone that isn't a fan, like, I appreciate Resident Evil as a franchise. Like, I appreciate, especially recently, I've learned to appreciate it more when people say, hey, I really liked Resident Evil 7. I really, really liked Resident Evil 2 Remake, and then Resident Evil 3 comes out, and they're like, hey, I like this too. And I'm like, oh, okay, they're on, like, a bit of a roll here. Well, they seem to have found their footing a bit now. But I've never been one to be like, oh, do you know what? I really want to play it. Because I don't. Because I hate horror. But, it's one of those things.
You'd probably be able to squeak through 5, because that game isn't scary, but it's also not good, so I don't recommend it.
You see, I played a bit. The only one that I have played is I played a tiny bit of 4.
Oh,
because
4 is pretty
was
good.
But everyone's like, oh, I love 4. 4's great. And then it's one of those, I like to call it Mario 64 syndrome, right? Where I'm going to offend a load of people that love Mario 64, right? Where it's a game is beloved by many, but then when I go to play it, as someone that's never played it, play it like 15 years after it came out, and I play it for like, I give it like a good 20 minutes, and just I feel like the controls are fighting with me.
Yeah.
I've never thought about it from that perspective, because usually I'm like, oh, Resident Evil 4's controls are fine, thinking comparatively to how the, classic games controlled with the tanky controls and all that.
Yeah. I just can't get my head around the aiming and stuff like that. It's just like, it's a bit nasty, which I've heard.
As far as like the aiming goes, people say the Wii version is actually the best version.
That's exactly what that's exactly what I was going to say. Is people that's like the one Wii port of a game that people seem to really love is the Wii version of Resident Evil 4.
So wait, is Resi 4 aiming not like dual stick?
It's you stop in place and you
stop in place. Yeah.
I don't think it was dual stick originally, because it was originally like a GameCube exclusive.
Yeah, it was a GameCube exclusive, so it was like it's kind of.
I don't remember exactly.
But I mean, the GameCube could have done dual stick.
It could have, but I don't remember using the C stick. I might just be crazy.
Huh.
If it does use the second stick, then you definitely have to stand still before you can start aiming.
Yeah, you definitely have to stand still.
Okay.
But yeah. So
I've also never played Resident Evil.
Will you, Kyle? That's the real question.
Will I?
Will you?
I don't know. I'm not big on like shooter games or horror games, so I'm kind of in the same boat as Ethan.
Well, I like some shooters. I like some shooters, but no horror. Well, it took me how many years? It took me nearly 6 years to play The Last of Us. So
which I don't even see as a horror game. So,
and let me tell you, after playing it, it is not a horror game because it's not that scary.
Isn't that what we all told you, and you didn't listen to us?
There's like 2 sections that are scary, but other than that, it's all pretty chill.
Chill.
It's quote unquote chill. It's a vibe, dude. Last of Us is a vibe. Yeah. I can't wait to play the new one. Chill. Am I right?
Yeah,
maybe we'll talk about that. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about that.
Delayed.
Hey, shh, Hunter. We need topics for later. We can't give them that kind of juicy stuff. We might need time fillers later.
One thing I will say about Resident Evil 3, though, because it's so short, I feel almost like I want to play it again on one of the higher difficulties.
Yeah,
really.
So yeah, like usually I just go through on normal, and that's how I trucked through 2. And I don't think I played them after that, at least not yet. But I feel like I could do that with 3 and have myself a bit of fun.
I mean, that's what I like. Yeah, that's why I like.
It's only like a 6-7 hour game, so it's like perfect replay length.
Yeah, that's what exactly.
I like. It's why, as time has gone on, and this is a tangent that it's not Resident Evil, but as time went on, especially with the Reignited trilogy coming out with Spyro, 2 was always my favorite, and then 1, and then 3 just sits in a little pile of it's fine, but it's not Crash 3 bad, but it's I'd rather not touch it and just cherish the other 2 children instead of that one. But as time and time goes on, I see myself, especially with Reignited, when I go back, I play the first one because it's like 3 hours to just 100%. I'm just like, I just feel like replaying it. There's something with, especially with today's games, when you look at a lot of games and they're all sitting there with hey, we're 20 hours long, we're 30 hours long. You got Persona over there going, hey, how's 120 for you? You know? And then it's nice to have some short games. It's nice to just sit down and play a game in one sitting at times, you know?
Some people don't see games that are that short as like, worth $60 sometimes, and I guess that's on what you feel like you're spending. So
some people equate money to time as if it's like, oh, this game's only like it's like $5 an hour, and I'm like, why do you think of it like that? It's an experience. You don't go to a movie and go, oh, that first half wasn't worth $7, but that second half it was worth about $7. You know what I mean? Like, no, you don't do that. So why would you? No, I don't understand. So in the end, Hunter, we've talked quite a bit about Resident Evil 3. Would you recommend it?
I would recommend it, yeah.
Nice. So there you go. You heard it here. I know you all waited to hear what Hunter said, and there you go. Play it. Go buy it now. You might as well. You're stuck at home. You've got fuck all to do.
It's about overcoming a virus outbreak, so it's topical.
Yeah, and you're not getting Last of Us, so play it. Yeah.
It might even be cathartic.
It might even be cathartic. You heard it. Put it on the box art. Capcom.
Therapeutic.
You could put it. That's the official Gigas review. You could put might be therapeutic.
Oh man!
When we start doing reviews, that's what we're going to start having quotes like that. That's the kind of quotes that we're looking for when we do reviews of games.
Nice.
I have been thinking about doing that. I feel like it'd be quite fun. Start doing Giga reviews, but hey, that's a topic for off podcast. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. That's Resident Evil over. I guess we should talk about Persona next. So here we go. I'm going to give everybody listening a warning. Persona 5 Royal is a very long game, and I am just one man who does not have enough time to play a 120-hour game in the 4 days it's been out. So forgive me.
I feel like I put down that much time on Zelda.
I also had already started Gravity Rush 2 before then, and I felt like I needed to finish that before I started Persona, so I only started Persona on Thursday, so I'm sorry. I let you all down, and I started Persona 2 days after release. Truly tragic.
Really quick, Ethan, before you get started, my friend messaged me yesterday, and he's been playing Royal. He messaged me, and he's just like, I'm already in Okumura's palace.
Oh,
I'm
snap.
like, dude, chill
Okay.
out.
We're gonna talk about that because I'm gonna tell you where everyone is. So we're all on the same page. Before you two start asking your questions, you interrogating me because I've been kind of looking forward to this because
get
I've
to
kind of
be
been keeping to
Psy.
my. I've been keeping this to myself, and I know that these two are interested in what's new, so I've been keeping it to myself. As how far am I? I have beaten Kamoshida, and I did that an hour before the podcast started. So. And when I say I've beaten Kamoshida, I mean that we've had the food scene where they go and get food, and I've done all that. I mean,
Cool,
chapter
they kept that in.
closed. I mean, chapter closed. Sai's we've gone to the Sai scene where she's like, "Oh, tell me about Madarame," and it started the Madarame chapter, but I haven't played past that. That first chapter, which I believe usually takes anyone between like 9 and 10 hours. Usually, it's around. I like to think of it as usually it's around 10 hours a chapter, and then the chapters at the end get longer. But the first chapter should only take about 9 or so hours. It's taken me 13 and a half hours to get to the end of that first chapter, just for some kind of comparison, and that's where I am. So if you don't want spoilers in general, if you just want to know, is it worth double dipping? If you're a really big Persona fan, yes, it's worth double dipping. Go play it because even the tiniest little details have already made me scream, and it's like it's pretty great. If you're new, is it worth it? I don't know yet, because as a fan of the game and a really big fan of Persona 5, there are bits that still feel out of place to me. Like a character shows up extremely early and it's something new, and I'm like, this isn't how it goes. Does this fit well? And it probably will, but I can't say it yet. But yeah, anyway, you know where I am. You know how long I've played it. Feel free, ask away, guys. You can ask anything you want. Go for it.
What are some of the notable big differences you've seen so far compared to the original?
Okay, so biggest changes so far. Obviously, like every other Persona game, when they do a re-release, there's a brand new intro.
Mm-hmm.
There's a new anime intro. Wake up, get out there. I always stumble over that. Is no more, effectively.
Tragic.
Which is weird. Truly tragic. And there's a new one. There's a new song, which I cannot remember what it's called. Which I should remember what it's called, because I know the name of the new battle theme, but I don't know the name of this new song. I really like the new song, but there's something about the animation, and if you're a Persona fan if you're this hardcore of a Persona fan and you get this reference, fair play to you. But the animation at the start, at least, the new animated cutscenes that aren't the start one have been fine. But this new one in particular, Kyle will understand this one, gives me P5A vibes, which is the anime that they did.
No.
Yeah, and the animation quality doesn't seem as great as Wake Up, Get Up, Get Out There at all. It kind of seems like in a way, it's all colourful and it's all big and it's all explosive and a load of stuff's happening and the kind of screaming, we have money now. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, you do, but also it still looks a bit crappy because it's the same people that made the P5A stuff, and you can tell. So I'm like, that's fine.
So less is more in this case.
Less is more in a way. I think Wake Up, Get Up. Also, it kind of spoils everything. That's why I say if you're new to Persona, maybe Persona 5 Royal isn't the best, because the great thing that I think Persona 5 does is when you boot up the game, it shows you every member of the Phantom Thieves, right? When you're watching the intro, it shows you every member. But in a way, you kind of don't notice, so that you're still playing the game. And at least for me, personally, I wasn't going, okay, we still have Ginger Girl and the weird and Haru and all these people still showing up. I wasn't aware of who's going to be coming in next to the story. Whereas in this game, it very much goes, here's Fox, and here's Haru, and here's everyone, and look, everyone's here. Hey, look, there's Akechi. Don't worry about him. I'm sure he isn't important. Like, everyone's there, and it's just kind of like, I don't know. I'm like, I wish you kind of keep some of it a secret, like the original, but they don't really do that.
I mean, at the same time, I feel like Atlas kind of expected a lot of the fans to double dip, so they could be a little more lenient with what they put in the intro.
It's 100% a double dip game, which I'll get into more later, but it's 100% a double dip game. They have put things in there where they're like, the only people that would genuinely get a smile or benefit, or even will notice it, are people that have played the original. You wouldn't notice it.
Good to know.
Other big things. There are some small things that are great, but I'm going to save those for now. I think the big thing is, I know a question that everyone was asking before the game came out are the palaces different?
Well, you've played one.
I've played one
which
of them.
Which is the same.
No.
Effectively.
It's I can kind of get an idea of what they've done with the palaces. And what I can say is, are they the same? Kind of.
Nice.
For the most part, it still follows the same layout in a way, but things have changed. There's the grappling hook mechanic, which they've added in.
Thank you, Smash.
From Smash Bros. Thank you, Smash Bros. So now they've added new areas which require you to use the grapple hook to get up to, and there's a very weird mechanic where it's like, we'll tell you if you can grapple hook to somewhere, because your left glove will start turning blue.
Nice.
And I'm like, oh cool, we got some Michael Jackson thing going on.
God forbid you just use a grappling hook anywhere you want.
God forbid you just look up and go, oh, I can't go anywhere, let me look up, oh, grapple hook. No, you have to have like Michael Jackson hand going blue, like you've got two different colour gloves.
Take like the Animal Crossing slingshot approach.
Yeah, but yeah, from what I can tell in terms of the palaces, they very much have just refined them, which is why I can't wait to get to Akuma's palace, because I want to see if that's still a hell. Like that's what I'm the one, because Kamoshida's palace, it's basic.
It's a good first dungeon.
It's a good first dungeon.
It's a good intro.
They did some refinements to it, which I really liked. For example, I don't know if anyone remembers the rooftop room where you've got to like sneak past all the guards and then do the jumping up the tower bit.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Up the tower. That room is really clunky. Like that whole bit is extremely clunky. And it just never clicked. Now you grapple hook onto the roof to avoid them, and then you grapple hook again and you swing like all the way up to the top, which is nice. It just saves a load of time. And then you can actually backtrack to go in the old way to get some extra collectibles, which is nice. They kept the old ways in there. But mainly it's adding things to, at least for the first palace, they added things more. So there's this new collectible called Will Seeds. There's 3 in each palace, collect all 3, and then at the end of the palace, when you go to Mementos, for some reason the tutorial tells you that you can take them to Mementos and get them traded even before I've been to Mementos, which is a thing that a gripe that I kind of have with it, with the game. It tells you, it gives you a bit of spoiler. But you take them to Mementos and you trade it for like a unique talisman that you can give to your characters, which will give you a buff in the next palace, essentially, which is nice. But the big thing about the Will Seeds is they're in new locations, they're brand new, they're kind of puzzly, kind of trying to figure out where they are. But the great thing about them, and I'm like, thank you, isn't the fact that they're a collectible, is the fact that when you collect them, it replenishes a percentage of your of your SP.
Yes.
Which means now you have a solution to the ever problem in that game of, I want to keep going through this palace, but I'm out of SP. So now you have the choice of, hey, I can go and look for these collectibles and regain SP and carry on my way. Which is brilliant. I thought when I saw that, I'm like, that's great. I was able to do Kamoshida's palace in one playthrough, which I was unable to do in the original P5 because you just don't have enough stamina. Where now they've implemented a mechanic where they're not just giving you more SP. They haven't made SP any less valuable, but they've given you an option to go out of your way to regain more, which is a really nice thing. And then you get a reward for doing it, which is nice.
That is nice, because the palaces oftentimes with me, because I refused to take more than one day to do them, would become a war of attrition for me.
Yeah.
Where it started off strong, and then the longer I went, the more I was like limping to the finish line.
But no, it's definitely something that's really appreciated in that terms. The other big thing, which I only just found before coming on the podcast, because it's only just been alert to me, it's something called Thief HQ. Yes, that's what I thought when I saw it on the menu. I was like, It's called Thief HQ. I believe it's called Thief HQ. I can't remember if that's the 100% the name. But what it is it's a new kind of museum option where you just go into the main menu and it doesn't count for your game time. Don't worry, I checked. I'm technically on 14 hours because I spent so much time in the museum, but it doesn't count. And what it is it's interesting. It is Joker's Palace.
Oh, that's cool.
So what What it is it's kind of a museum where you can place objects from other people's palaces and things you've collected in it, and you can display them. It's like your own little display museum, and cognitions of your friends will be able to come over, will be in there, and you can talk and you can get new dialogue from them and stuff like that based on past experiences. So, for example, the one I had was I put Arsene on like a podium. You can put Arsene on like one of the podiums essentially, and Anne, Ryuji, and Morgana were all there, and then they had a conversation of, oh, so this is what Joker's first persona looked like, and he's like, yeah, and he's like, oh, by the way, how did you meet Morgana? And then Ryuji makes a joke about how he was a little bitch and was stuck in a cell and and he was screaming and crying, and then Morgana has a cry himself because you've just told Anne that, and there's just like, it's a lot more dialogue, which is quite cool. They've got concept. It's also a place where they've added concept art for the original game and for Royal that you can view and display on walls and stuff like that. They have a music player in the game now, which is...
I love music players in games.
Yeah.
Not only does it let you listen to every song that you've come across in the game, it also lets you select any of them to be your palace kind of theme, so you can have it playing at all times.
Oh, that is tasty.
So I put the gun shop one on straight away. I'm like, what a banger, dude. Lay a cake, get it on, dude, get it on. And so you can go around. Other things that they have added is a new achievement system in the Thief HQ, which is what I'm talking about. So instead of having the trophy list be absolute dog shit like it was in the original P5, now instead they have this wall full of like 20 million achievements for you to do, and they're all dog shit. So it's great. So you've got confidant ones where it's like, get max all confidants in one playthrough, max all lovers in one playthrough, have every like relationship possible in the game at once, like stuff like that. And then there's some that are battle worthy, and they give you these points that you can spend to unlock concept art and stuff like that. That's kind of how it works. It's more of a showcase stuff. Cool. You can also, which I thought was really weird, but it's a kind of cool touch, is you can play as every other character in there. So you can walk around as any character in any costume. So you can play as Ryuji while you're in there if you want, in any costume that you have for him, and just chill and stuff like that. And then the last thing that they have in there, which I'm going to remember, is they have a card game where you can play a form of poker. It's not poker, but it's a different kind of card game. It's a Japanese kind of version of poker with your Phantom Thief crew, which is interesting. So it gives you some stuff it's a load of random stuff, but they've just compiled it all into one place. And there you go. It's called Thief HQ. It's weird. It's cool. You can design it. You can listen to music.
Like a cool little hub world.
It's a nice little detail that they added that I don't think they needed to do. But hey, it's fun, and it's a great excuse to go and listen to some music. I'll definitely be using that as a way of
putzing around there now. Like I did on the city streets. The original game.
Yeah, no longer do I have to sit in the corner of the gun shop awkwardly because I'm like, to be honest, mate, I just want to sit here for an extra 20 minutes and listen to the song, okay? Now you can just do it in the comfort of your own palace, so that's pretty cool. Other things that I really liked that I noticed was a lot of optimization in terms of both performance and also in terms of just making life a hell of a lot easier for everyone. So, in no particular order, frame rate, even though the frame rate was already great on Persona 5 Original, it's still 30, but this time it's absolutely locked. There's nothing. I've seen no problems. It's fully 1080 30 all the time. Load times are gone.
Nice.
Which is the big thing for me. I have seen take your time in the corner of my screen 3 times in 15 hours of gameplay.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Transitions between cutscenes are practically instant, and when you're moving in the open world, it has enough time to show the cool little transitions for about roughly a second before before you're already there. It's really impressive. To the point of, I remember seeing in the first trailer, I'm like, hey, they've changed the transitions. The reason they've changed the transitions is because they're now super quick because of the load times, which is great. Really like that. The touchpad menu, back in Persona 5, I don't know if you ever used this, but if you press the touchpad, it told you what everyone else had done on that day. It kind of gave you like a little schedule of like, 50% of people went to the palace, 30% hung out with Ryuji.
Yeah,
like
I remember that.
Awesome.
Never even used it.
And 2 people went to bed. You know.
I'd look at it here and there.
They've changed that, so it's now called the touchpad menu. And what this is when you press the touchpad, if you press the touchpad, you have a load of options, and it's a quick select menu, essentially. If you press any button on the D-pad, you still get your schedule of what people did in that day, which is cool. But now, you have a quick select menu, so if you press triangle on the quick select, it will show you every available confidant, and you can click on any of them, and it will teleport you straight to them. No longer do you have to faff around on the map going, who's available? I don't know.
Oh, that's just
Can I try and find them? Yeah, teleport to them. Same with stat boosts. So if you're like, oh, no one's around, but what stats can I upgrade? You can just press X and it'll tell you which stats you can upgrade and where you can do it. So you can just instantly teleport there. You can also press the touchpad and square, and it'll instantly take you to your hideout without you having to faff around with the menus and stuff like that. And overall, it's a really nice thing to have, because no longer it's a lot of Persona's time management in terms of days, and now it's just you have a menu where you don't have to worry about, I wonder who's available and what I can do and stuff like that. It'll tell you very quickly. So it's a really nice feature. I made a joke to you, Kyle, about the toilets.
Yes.
And you thought I was joking, and I'm not. Toilets are one of the best features in Persona 5 Real. Because when you go to the toilet in either LeBlanc or in school, they're the only 2 I've found so far. Should probably do a toilet hunt. You now do something called you now reflect, and what it does is it tells you how close you are to your next social stat levels up.
You can now see,
yeah, you can now see how close you are to achieving the next level in your social stats, which you couldn't in Persona 5 original.
Well, that was something you could do in Persona 4 original.
Yeah,
like you could go into the bathroom at your school and be like, oh, I should hang out with this person.
Like, I think my relationship will deepen with this person soon.
Or like, I have exams coming up, I should go study.
Yeah, except it's a bit different than that.
Increase my knowledge.
It'll literally go through all 5 of your social stats, and it'll tell you how far away you are.
Oh.
Now, it's not an exact number. It won't say you need 9 more XP points, because who knows what that is, right? But it will say, I'm nowhere near, or I'm somewhat close, or I'm really close. It will now give you an idea of how far you are into the level. And it will do it for all of them at the same time, which is nice. There's also elements now where instead of jobs, instead of them having busy days that are random, so you get paid more randomly, they've now set it to a set date, and they even text you when it's that date. So it's like, hey, this is the day. If you want to make more money, come in today, and stuff like that. There's just a load of nice little features like that, which is great. In terms of story, there's not much that's new. The new girl's already been introduced. New girl, I don't remember her name.
Kasumi,
thank you. She was introduced in the tutorial. There's this bit in the tutorial that goes completely different to the original, and she shows up, and then she does this whole thing where she's like, hey, I'm not a phantom thief, but I'm here, and I already have my persona change and everything. I'm like, okay, that adds up. That's a bit weird. And she shows up at the start of the game, and all the new cutscenes at the moment have just been, a majority of them have been stuff with her where she's just randomly there. She's also a transfer student, interestingly. And she also came to the same day as you. So instead of having everyone just hate your ass for the entirety of the first game, now you have half the people hating your ass and half the people talking about how horny they are for this new girl.
Oh, so there you go. I'd rather people just hate me.
High school.
Yeah, it's never just. Oh, did you hear there's a new girl? She's super talented. She's like, oh, boys, have you seen her? It's like, oh, fucking hell, yeah, like, exactly. So yeah, I'm just going to go through everything, and then you can ask me any questions that you have afterwards, because I said I was going to do main features, but I'm just going to talk about everything now. And then I'll let you ask if I know anything else. There's new voice lines and details. One of them that I want to talk about is the phone wallpaper in the background, which this is the one that made me squeal for no reason. On certain days and certain seasons, instead of just having a plain red background, it's now animated. So, for example, because it was cherry blossom season, you had cherry blossoms falling down in the background of your texts and stuff like that, just randomly. It was just really nice detail. I'm like, hey, that's really cool. I like it. There's other details, like now when you're on the phone to someone, instead of you just being on the phone, they now have like a weird shaped square which has their portrait in it. So there's like, you can see them now when you're talking to them, which is a nice weird detail that
That's cool.
for some reason they decided to add. They added all of the characters, like the character portraits, have been redesigned and completely done, and they're 100% better. They're really good.
Nice.
There's not been a single character that has had a downgrade in my opinion. Ryuji's had a massive upgrade on his character profiles, like extremely. They're a lot more expressive. They introduced characters a lot earlier in the game this time around. You could actually talk to Haru in the first day, which is also leads to stuff like random like Easter eggs. Like, for example, you find out the reason that the roof is unlocked at Shujin is because one of the teachers is leaving it unlocked for Haru so that she can water the plants, and that's the reason why it's always open and no one knows why. Well, that's the reason why. They just added that in for no reason.
Oh. So does that give you access to the garden earlier?
Or... It hasn't yet, but I believe it will do.
Okay.
But yeah, so Haru has been introduced a lot earlier. You see her everywhere. She's watering the plants outside of the Shujin Academy every day. You can see her everywhere. She very much doesn't just show up now halfway through. She's a part of the school already.
They really took that. She shows.
They really took that. They took that criticism to heart, dude. They're like, okay, we're just gonna, even if she's not introduced in the story, she's gonna be in the background everywhere. Which I thought was interesting. There are other like super niche Easter eggs and stuff like that in the game that you'll just notice over time and stuff like that. When something different does happen, like sometimes there'll be a tongue-in-cheek thing about it.
A little wink at the camera.
Yeah, like a wink at the camera is like, hey, this is new. Like, the new girl is coming out of... There's a new scene with Kamakari, and she's like, oh, I need to talk to you in the counselor's room or whatever. And then there's just one with Kamoshida and the new girl. They've just come out of there in a meeting or whatever. And then there's... nothing happened, don't worry. Can confirm nothing happened.
I'm pretty sure she could take him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they do this whole thing of there's like this whole tongue-in-cheek moment where Kamoshida's like, oh yeah, this guy's like the worst of the worst, you shouldn't talk to him, and you've already helped her and you've been really nice to her so far. So she's like, I don't believe that. And then Kamoshida does make some kind of comment like, oh, it's weird that both of you showed up on the same day. It's like, nice. Something's off. Why would you both show up at the same day? Like, there's like little nods and references like that. And then the last thing I could think of, which has just been a list of me gushing, is lowered social stat requirements. You don't need to do as much to get your social stats up anymore. At the end of Kamoshida's Palace, I have everything level 2 except for knowledge. And I think, yeah, the level 2s, every one of them except for knowledge requires like 9 points or whatever. Oh, actually, one more thing. Go to bed has been killed.
Yes.
Completely.
Boo.
Now you're not allowed to leave LeBlanc, but you can do any activity that you could do in LeBlanc in that evening, so you can boost your skills and stats while doing so.
That's nice.
Oh shoot.
So suck it, Morgana. I'll go to bed when I want.
So now every night you can either watch a DVD, which also, little detail about the DVDs, you can no longer have late fees, you just pay an annual subscription. There's no late fees now.
Nice.
You can watch a DVD, you can read a book, you can study, or you can do the crossword, or you can make coffee, or whatever. Every day now, essentially. There's no limit on that. And that's every little... Oh, and Takeover's brilliant. The new battle theme's brilliant.
Oh, I've got one.
Go on.
This is gonna... You might not remember because of what it is, but like the questions they ask you in class to like boost your knowledge, are those the same?
No.
Oh, they changed them. Cool.
So there was one that I was like, oh, I see where this is going. Like, at the start, they do the same question where they talk about Emperor Nero and the Olympics or whatever. And the original question, for some reason, this stayed in my mind, where it's like, oh, which of these did he win a gold medal in? And the answer was like singing or whatever.
Yeah, it was something silly like that.
Whereas this time around, it was... At this time, it was like, oh, which one of these did Emperor Nero not win a gold medal in? And it was a load of them, and then the last answer was all of them, and you answer all of them. And he's like, yeah, that's right. He won in everything because he rigged everything. So there's some that are like slightly changed, where it's still on the same subject. There are some that are completely new. Like all the optical illusion ones so far have been new for me that weren't in the original. And there's a new feature with Anne specifically, where now some days Anne will get asked a question and she doesn't know the answer, and you have to whisper it to her.
Oh, that's
so that's
cool.
a new thing where it's like, hey, help me out. And so you're just whispering the answers to her.
Did that happen
while you
in Persona
do it?
4?
Yes, it did.
I thought so.
So they added that now.
It was with Yosuke and Chie.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because Yosuke's a dumbass.
That adds up.
So yeah, that's a new thing. And I think that's everything that I can think of in terms of questions. They seem new. Some of them are new, some of them are different. Anyone got a question?
I do.
Go on, Kyle.
So,
hit me.
I am someone who enjoyed playing the original P5. I did my one playthrough and I never touched it again.
Do
you think that Royal, from what you've played so far, adds enough to warrant dropping another $60 on what I assume is going to be a lot of the same game? Like,
to me, it depends.
Put your bias aside, is it worth it?
For a new person,
for me to just do another one playthrough of P5.
It depends how much
with
you really
new
like
bells and whistles.
It depends how much you liked P5 in the first place. That's my honest opinion. Is if you are someone that has already played P5, and if you're thinking to yourself, "Hey, P5 Royal's out, and all I want is just the new shit." If there's something that you're like, "Hey, I don't want to do the whole," if you don't want to play the whole game again, then no, because it is the fucking game. It's Persona 5, right?
Yeah.
But if you're someone that's like, "Hey, I really liked Persona 5 and I want to see what's new," and there were the things that put me off doing it again, I forgot to mention the new shadow types and stuff like that. There's new shadow types. Sorry, forgot to say. And new ways to fight them. And guns. I've just thought of like 20 more things now. Great.
Keep going. Answer the damn question.
Yeah. Let me just quickly say before I forget. Guns now, you replenish your ammo on guns after every battle now. They're a lot weaker, but now you don't have limited ammo per palace. It's per battle. Anyway, I'm done with that.
Cool. That's a good feature.
Guns are a lot more viable now.
Maybe I'll finally use the gun.
Yeah, anyway. But no, if you're someone that was like, "Hey, I really liked P5, but things that always, like, there's stuff that was always holding me back, like, if there was stuff that was always holding you back, like how vague it was in terms of leveling up people and leveling up your social stats, and at this stage, I'd say wait. If you're someone that's not absolutely in love with P5 like I am and could literally play the same game for the rest of your fucking life because you're a lunatic, I'd say wait until I've played it and then I can give you a good guess, because the only part that I've played is one that I like. I think the strength of this game, I'll be like, yes, it's worth another playthrough if, one, the post-game content's worth the extra playthrough. If, two, the new characters and stuff seem to be... The new dialogue's really nice, but it's not something that I feel like, oh, you needed this, right? It's nothing like that. But I'm waiting to see, hey, what did they do to the other palaces? What little things have they made? Because if they've... My factor is, if they can make me actually like Akumura's palace, then they've sold me. That this is the better version.
That's a good test.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I'd say it's going to be interesting. We'll see. But for now, hold off on it, unless you really like P5. Because it's P5.
Okay.
It's P5, but it's a lot more of a clean... It's like a lot more of a clean experience. There's no more of this, maybe this should have, like, maybe, like, my knowledge is level 3 and I need level 4 knowledge, and I don't know how far through level 3, so you're going to be sitting there forever.
Yeah, it's just a lot of quality of life changes, pretty much.
So far, there's a load of quality of life changes. They've done stuff to the battle system where, in my opinion, the battle system is just downright better now. There is no reason.
Oh, wow.
There's no reason to not play P5R in terms of battle, because Baton Pass is now for everyone automatically. As soon as they're in your party, you can Baton Pass. You no longer have to level
that's
up.
nice.
That is spiffy.
They've given everyone else a new. They've given everyone a new ability except for instead of Baton Pass, and everyone just has Baton Pass automatically.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's things like there's new shadows, and there's new shadow types. There's an explosive shadow, where the whole idea about the explosive shadow is if you attack them, they automatically attack you back. But so they don't attack unless you attack them. But the benefit to them is if you kill them, they'll amplify the last damage that you took from them. So if you do a 50 hit on their critical, when they die and on their dying blow, they deal 50, right? They'll explode and they'll deal 70 damage to the other shadows that are in the fight. So there's some tactics with those kinds of mechanics. There's new combat types. There's a new special move that I haven't unlocked yet.
Okay.
And stuff like that. The battle system, Persona 5 already had a great battle system, right?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did.
It was already one of its strongest suits, in my opinion.
For a turn-based RPG, it was a really in-depth battle system that kept the player very involved.
In my opinion, it's stuff like that, and then it's fixing the guns. So now the guns actually make more sense. Because the whole thing behind the guns was, because they look real, the shadows will think they're real, right? I'm like, that's cool. So why do they have limited ammo? Because how does this shadow go, that looks real? It also looks like it only has 4 rounds left, to be honest.
How do shadows even understand the concept of ammo?
Morgana says that when they see a gun, the shadows just assume that you have a full mag, so your ammo just replenishes, which makes sense.
Yes, it does.
They don't do as much damage, but now it's use your gun first unless they're resistant, because it deals more damage than a normal attack. It's now a viable option. Not as many things are weak to it, but it's now viable, which is nice. It's a lot of stuff. Baton passes make the whole of Kamoshida's Palace a lot more bearable.
I can imagine, yeah.
Takeover, the new song is great, which also helps the battle experience because now you have 2 great battle themes instead of 1. And just it does seem like it's got a lot. The battle system was already really well done, but now really it's now safe to say that it is
even more refined.
Even more refined. It's probably my favorite battle system in a turn-based RPG now, by far, because just of how refined it is and how well it works. It was already working well, but they just decided, hey, what if we just really polish it? And they did, and it works great.
It's good to know.
Okay.
There's definitely a lot there that I feel like they very much made it so they were like, hey, if people are going to replay through our game, let's make it so that they have as much fun as possible replaying it.
Right.
So they're not going to sit there and go, you know what? I can't be bothered to do Kamoshida's Palace because my SP always runs out and I have to do 2 or 3 trips when I've already been there 4 or 5 times because my SP is running out and there's no Baton Pass, so every fight takes forever.
Yeah.
So now they're like, Baton Pass straight away. Hey, even before you have Anne as a confidant, you can Baton Pass. Wonderful. Just everyone, Baton Pass is now a feature. And I don't know if they did this in the original. Oh God, I've been talking way too much about Persona. I don't know if they did this in the original, but now there's a reason to Baton Pass all the way through.
Oh.
Because now, if you Baton Pass 3 people in a row, the last person in the Baton Pass, any move they do will not cost any HP or SP. And it'll be at its max damage.
Oh, that is the greatest news.
So if you perfect a Baton Pass now, you get rewarded significantly to the point where you get a free move, essentially, and that move deals maximum damage.
I think that was something I would do just because it was convenient if I could pull it off.
You got an achievement for that in the original.
Yeah, you've got an achievement for it. But now they literally say, there's literally a tutorial where they're like, Baton Pass everyone.
Do it.
Because there's stuff like that where it's just it's a lot nicer. It's a much cleaner. Also, one thing, negotiating with shadows was always a pain.
Yeah.
The game now has a tutorial which specifically tells you, I don't know if it was there before, it probably was, but I'm just a dumbass. But the tutorial specifically now tells you, Gloomy likes this likes that, and there's 4 of them. And it just tells you what each one likes. It's just hey, if you want to memorize it, it's in the game. Just,
nice.
It's there.
Yeah, I don't think the original ever told you that.
Yeah, so there's now a specific tutorial where it's like gloomy like serious, this like yeah, it's like energetic likes whatever the types are. It now just the tutorials, they added a shit ton of tutorials.
And when I say you do with RPGs,
not in a bad way.
Womp,
no,
womp.
This Morgana literally like takes you through everything that's new, and goes through. But it's in a way where you're no longer thinking. So what is the point of Baton Pass? What is the point other than an extra move? And stuff. They added animations and they've added like tutorials where it's to the point now where you can go out to Kamoshida's palace and you know everything. Well, and the game doesn't hide anything from you anymore. The game doesn't go, oh, maybe you'll figure out what weaknesses are. Well, maybe you'll figure out what a technical is, which I still didn't know until this game told me what a technical is. 165 hours in P5 and I actually learned what a technical was when the game told me in its fucking remaster, when it was like, oh yeah, this is what a technical is and this is why you should do it. And I'm like, thank you for telling me that. Why couldn't you have told me that the first time? So no, battle systems way more refined. So yeah, play it. There's a load of stuff for people that are big fans of it. Like I say, if you're not willing to put in the 80 hours to get to the new content again, if you're not like, Persona 5 is a great game. If you're ever feeling, hey, I want to replay Persona 5, I might as well, should I just play the original or should I get the new one? I'm like, get the fucking new one because you're gonna have a blast with it. Because there's nothing that it's doing worse so far.
Because the new one is P5 with more shit.
Yeah, with better personally, I've just been waiting until I feel like playing Persona 5 again to get it.
Yeah. It's very much a extra. It's basically a let's make the most painless version of P5 possible.
Yeah, it's Persona 5 Final Mix, pretty much.
Essentially, it's
the Kingdom Hearts fans.
Yeah, it's essentially, hey, I really love Persona 5, but if there's things that are holding you back, like the clunkiness of the social stats and social links being a bit awful and not knowing where everything is. Also, nice feature, all of the teleport spots, like not buildings, but all the teleport spots like the underground mall and stuff like that, they're just available instantly. You don't have to go and find the underground mall to transport there. Specific shops, yes, but places no anymore. Like, they've just done stuff like that makes it a hell of a lot better. The social stats at night with Morgana no longer telling you to go to bed, you can actually do something at those. Mind-blowing. Don't know why that wasn't originally there, you know? Overall, they have just made, like, a game that's great for new people to come into the game, and they're going to have the best experience possible. And if people want to come back to it, if you're in love with Persona 5, you're already in love with Persona 5, so it doesn't matter. But if you were like, yeah, I want to come back, but there's these hiccups and there's bits and pieces where I'm not 100% a fan of, then they've added stuff there to make the like, no, seriously, have baton passes now. Just take them. We're going to add these new shadows, we're going to add these new moves, we're going to make everything as clean as possible. There's also, last little thing, in the Velvet Room, there's now challenge battles that give you items.
Ooh.
So
that's neat.
So no longer is there a massive gap of story gameplay. If you want, you can choose to go to the Velvet Room and practice your gameplay there as well and win items for it.
Huh.
So yeah, cool little feature. But I think I've talked about it long enough. Play it. It's great. If you feel like playing it. Is it worth the asking price? For me, it is. The thing I'll always say with this game is, there's a part of me that's like, oh, is it worth it if you've already played it? And I'm like, yeah, but also it's a fucking 120-hour RPG. Like,
yeah,
if you're going to play it again, even if it's majority of the same and it's just a nicer experience, it's worth it because you're still going to get 120 hours from that $60. So,
yeah,
hey, can't complain. In terms of when we were talking earlier about price to whatever ratio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like $2, or that's like 2 hours $1.
Double.
And from what I have heard, there is substantial... Obviously, there's a new palace, but there are substantial changes to the story at the end, and there is also substantial changes to just characters in general.
Yeah.
So, hey, I know when I know where the new palace is. Is it at the end? Of course, it's at the fucking end. But you know, there's a whole extra semester essentially at the end of P5 now for you to play, and on top of all the new mechanics and all the great stuff that they've added. It very much is I wouldn't even say final mix, because it's not even like they've not just like added a couple of bosses or whatever. It very much is like a definitive edition. Like Xenoblade's out there calling itself definitive edition, right? And maybe it is the definitive edition, right? We'll see when that comes out. It probably will be, but
at least as far as visuals are concerned,
it will be. It will be, but
they've already announced a whole new story.
Yeah, this is the same. This is the same. Yeah, to the same extent that Persona 5 has a whole new semester. It very much is the definitive package now. Go play this version. If you already own P5 and you haven't played it yet, then yeah, maybe just play P5 because you already all bought it. You stupid idiot! Why haven't you played it yet? But if you don't own it yet, you've been thinking, "Oh, I've really wanted to play P5 for so long. Should I just pick up the old version, or should I pick up the new version?" There's so many great features that they've added that just makes your life a lot easier. Unless you're like me and you love having a chart. You know, like when I was planning my second playthrough of Persona 5, I had a chart to plan everything out. You don't need that anymore. The game does it for you.
But chart.
Anyway, there's a load of new stuff. I haven't got to it. I'm sure we'll talk about it many more times on this podcast as I keep going through it. So, hey, it's all this is going to be a long podcast.
As far as new releases are concerned, it's going to be a while after.
Final Fantasy, exactly. We're going to be fine. So it's all good. I've talked about enough about P5 for now. Kyle, what have you been playing?
So, I haven't been playing any new games. I've been going through my backlog of old video games that I've bought and never played, because that's how I roll.
Nice, dude. Nice.
So, since this whole quarantine thing started, I've gone through 4 games. Not going to talk about all of them. I'm just going to talk about one in particular. But what I've gone through, I finished Xenogears for the PS1. That's a great game. I'd play it more times if it was made in a time when you could skip cutscenes.
Oh, yeah.
You can't skip cutscenes, and you can't speed up the dialogue, the text. So,
oof.
Is there like a way you could go into the options and make the text at least scroll faster?
There are no options.
Oh, totalitarian.
Yeah, so you're stuck on a super slow scrolling text speed for your 60-hour JRPG.
Oh. Nice.
Yeah, disc 1 was like 45-ish hours. They jam-packed disc 1. Disc 2 was much, much shorter. It was like 10 or 15 hours.
Yeah.
With doing a lot more abridged storytelling. And it had to cut out a lot of dungeons. They had a lot of budget cuts on disc 2. But that's because other games were coming out. I think like Final Fantasy VIII and Tactics were coming out around then. So Square had to put some manpower onto those games. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know, I still enjoyed the game. Great combat, great music, and I'm a big fan of the Xeno games, so it was cool to see where that series started. What else? I beat the original Mario 64. That's a bad game. Nice. Don't play it. Ethan touched on this earlier. Wasn't expecting him to, but it's not a good game. It did not age well.
Yeah. Some games aged really well. That game didn't.
Yeah. Like any PS1 game, that's aged well. Like the Crash Bandicoot games, those have aged pretty well.
Spyro 1's aged extremely well.
Spyro 1 is fantastic. Mario 64, you have to fight with the controls to get them to work. And you shouldn't have to struggle to play a game.
I feel like the fucking controller's winning the battle when I do play that game.
Like
I feel like it's like I'm going to start bleeding through my hand because I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, I hate this N64 controller anyway. I'm sorry. Let's be real here. My comments from 35 minutes ago hadn't killed the N64 fans, and then Kyle hadn't then me, I've just finished them off anyway, so we can talk shit now. I'm assuming any N64 fans.
If any of you are still out there, I still like N64 stuff, so.
Hey, there's some games that I like. I just hate the controller.
But no, the only reason why I even got Mario 64 in the first place was because my friend from college, he got into speedrunning Mario 64 this semester, and he wanted me to play it, so I bought it, and begrudgingly learned 16 star.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, nice.
The 16 star speedrun, that's kind of fun, not gonna lie. But
I've watched people do it here and there, and I enjoy.
It's pretty cool, and it's not like overly difficult to learn either. Like I pretty much got everything down in a couple days, and that was only just from watching my friend play. So
nice.
Yeah, Mario 64, bad game. Don't play it. It did not age well. Something that did age well was Mad World for the Wii, which I just went through. Freaking awesome game.
Great soundtrack.
Great soundtrack. Great game. Great gameplay.
Really cool style.
It's Platinum Games. Yeah, it's got like Sin City graphics, black, white, red all over. It's so cool. Yeah, and it's Platinum Games. Like 2009, I think, is when it came out. 2009, 2010.
I think it was 2008. I don't know for sure exactly.
I don't remember when the internet got obsessed with that game as like a cult classic, but
that was a couple years later after it released. But
it's a really good game, and it's held up.
The first game that Platinum actually like did as Platinum. It might have got squeaked in before like Bayonetta or whatever.
Yeah, because before some Platinum Games employees worked on Beautiful Joe and Okami. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that is like Clover Studio. Or whatever, or
then they became Platinum Games, and the rest is history. Yeah, Mad World really held up.
That's
the only thing is, it took me a few days, like 3 or 4 days to go through, just because my arms were getting tired from playing it.
Oh yeah, motion.
Like
controls.
I couldn't play it in long bursts. Shout out to motion controls. That's an abridged review of 3 games I didn't want to give like full lectures to, but the one I do want to talk about is the one I just finished, Final Fantasy 1 for the Game Boy Advance.
Nice.
That game was better than I was expecting, to be fair.
Oh yeah, when you started it, you said your hopes weren't exactly super high.
Yeah. It's one of those games that gets easier as you go through it. Like the beginning game is super brutal, and you're just trying to figure out everything, and like it's just not a good beginning game. It doesn't tell you where to go ever. That's not just a beginning game problem. It never tells you what to do. Like it has issues you'd expect from like old games, but I'm surprised, and I'm kind of surprised that the GBA version didn't like fix some of those. Like there was more than one time where I went through a dungeon and I'd get to the end of it and it's like, oh, I didn't get this one thing from a place I never even heard of. What the heck? So now I can't progress.
Oh, that's messed up.
So gotta leave, go to this stupid place and go find whatever it is I needed to get, go through the dungeon again, and now you can progress. But yeah, overall, I actually did find myself enjoying the game. There was a lot of things that kind of brought the experience down, but also a lot of things that brought the experience back up. Game was fun enough. I would probably do another playthrough of it with a new set of jobs. It's super replayable. Like it's your classic job class Final Fantasy game.
Nice.
I haven't even gone to the GBA exclusive stuff yet, but that's for another time. And honestly, yeah, it was super fun all the way through. The only issue I had was the final boss was kind of BS.
How Square and their nonsense final bosses sometimes.
Yeah, so the final boss has a huge HP jump. The fight itself isn't hard, it's just so tedious.
Oh, right.
Basically, the boss before the final boss had 4,300 health, roughly. Final boss has 20,000.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Nothing prepares you for that. I went in with full ethers, full high potions, and like 20 or 30 odd Phoenix Downs, which are basically revives.
Yeah.
And I had 5 ethers left at the end of that fight.
Sweet Jesus.
Divvied amongst a black mage and a white mage. One of my
shout out to Ethan, dude.
Shout out to Ethan, the Black Mage.
Yeah, what's up, dude?
Dude, you were like the best in that fight.
Of course I was.
You were hitting him for 400.
Yeah, that's a big hype right there, dude. That's some big damage.
I ended up having to turn one of my attackers, my monk. He was basically just the item giver of the team.
Oh, I love it when I have to do that with the party member. Just dish out the
there
items.
Goes like 200, 300 damage a turn just because monk has to now throw ethers to Ethan.
Nice, dude.
At least it's alliterative.
Yeah. Yeah. Final boss was not great, admittedly.
The origins of squares. Hey, we're just gonna make this marathon boss to pretend it's hard. They like to do that with Penance in Final Fantasy X. Was like that. Yzmat in Final Fantasy 12 was like that.
My God.
Kingdom Hearts 1.
At least Yzmat gave you the decency to. You could also go and like save, and you'd come back and it'd still be like damaged as much as you did.
Yeah, I mean, Xenogears also did the same thing. Like before the final boss, you have to do 4 fights beforehand.
Oh man!
If you want to make the final boss bearable,
because
basically it has like these 4 add-ons that power the boss.
So it's
if you don't take out any of the add-ons, the final boss, you can just go right to the final boss. But if you don't,
it's like
then if you don't take off the add-ons, 1, he'll get more attacks, and 2, he'll have a buttload more health. He goes from like 75,000 down to 40,000. If you take out the add-ons, oh man, Xenogears was great.
Nice.
What a great game.
Nice.
Can't wait to start playing Xenosaga eventually. Once I finally get episode 3. When I can find it for less than $90 used.
Oh man, it's one of those rare games. I ran into a similar trouble. Games. I got interested in this game that Capcom made several years ago called Haunting Ground. Basically, it was another game.
I've never even heard of it.
It's a game it was another game born of Resident Evil 4's tortured development. Devil May Cry has origins as like being a originally it was going to be Resident Evil 4, but they ended up making it too different. So, yeah. Haunting Ground is another one of those.
Nice.
But yeah, every time I tried to find that was super expensive.
Yeah, that's kind of how Xenogears development was. It was originally pitched to be as the original plot for Final Fantasy VII. Oh. But then Square turned that down because they thought the game was too dark, which I can kind of get that. There's a lot of like heavy religious overtones. It's a Xeno game. That's what they do. That's just how they roll.
Yeah.
Nah, dude. I played Xenoblade 2. There's no religious undertones in that one.
Oh, not at all.
Not at all. Evil
not at all,
man.
It's not like Jesus of Nazareth shows up in Xenosaga 3 or anything. That's real.
Oh man.
Nice, dude.
From what I've heard, Xenosaga 3 is just the Bible mixed with anime. It sounds pretty
that's
fucking
a fun
cool.
way to experience church.
Yeah.
Go to church with anime tits. Why not, dude? Why not?
With Robo Girls.
With Robo Girls, dude. Why not?
It's a test.
Awesome. It's a test. Nice. So there you go, Kyle.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've taken care of.
How have you enjoyed it? Would you recommend everyone plays those games?
Not Mario 64, Xenosaga Xenogears if you can find it cheap.
Couldn't you emulate it if you wanted?
If you wanted, but I don't endorse that.
We cannot legally endorse emulation.
I wasn't endorsing it. I was just pointing out that it's an option.
Unless you own a legal copy or know someone that owns a legal copy.
What if you know someone who knows someone?
Just emulate it with speed up. You'll be grateful for it.
No, we can't legally endorse it. But if you do it against our advice, then speed it up. Okay, all right.
I'm pretty sure on disc 2 I spent more time reading than actually playing the game. Disc 2 is basically just a visual novel.
Oh, but that's like that's like most JRPGs nowadays. That's just JRPGs in a nutshell, though. Nowadays, though, that's just what they are.
With the occasional break that you get to use a kung fu robot.
Well, that's cool.
Sounds like a good trade-off.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
That is.
No, the game's great. Please play it. Don't play Mario 64 though.
Play Mad World. Mad World's cool.
Play Mad World. It's super great. It still holds up. It's a bit weird to get used to, like, not just killing everything immediately, but instead make creative kills.
Yeah.
To build up your points.
Yeah.
So that you can get through the level faster.
Mad
World's great. Mad World's great. A lot of the bosses are kind of hit or miss. But there were more positives than negatives.
Good to hear. So there you go. I think you've had like 5 game recommendations this podcast. So hey, if you're bored in quarantine, you've got no excuses to not play at least one of these games.
Run through all your JRPGs you've left sitting on the shelf.
Well, yeah, welcome to JRPG and J Action Game podcast, because that's all we talked about. Is like
featuring Resident Evil.
Featuring Resident Evil.
The JRPG cast featuring Resident Evil. That's great. That's great. Well, there you go. I had the strange thought that we might run short on time this week.
Oh no, is this the longest one so far?
I think
by a long slot, like by a long shot. I'm sorry for the
let's go.
The typing is on my end, I swear, probably.
Look at us.
Let's have a look. Let me just have a quick check.
Let's go, gamers.
Yeah, we're the longest by like over 10 minutes. So there you go.
Steam Racing.
Feel free to hit us up on Twitter. What games have you guys been playing through?
Oh, that's a good idea.
What are some recommendations you have for us?
Yeah, do that. If you somehow made it to the end of this podcast and got through hunting, rambling about Resident Evil, gushing about Persona, and then Kyle gushing and hating on certain old games, then if you managed to get through that, then yeah, hit us up on Twitter. At the GigersYT, use the hashtag HotGamersOnly. Let us know if you actually have got through this podcast, and then tell us what games you're playing, because why not? You might as well. Next week on the show, we will have a continuation on Persona to talk, because trust me, I've got nothing else to talk about, so might as well. Maybe Final Fantasy VII First Impressions if I can pry myself away from Persona. Don't expect it. We might do a brief talk about it just so that we can put it in the thumbnail so that people listen.
If I don't play Final Fantasy VII next weekend, I have other things that I've been kind of scooting through. So
yeah, we got other things we can talk about next week anyway. And then yeah, we'll just keep on talking. For now, we do plan on carry on doing this every week. So hey, every week on a Monday, why not listen to 2 or 3 people ramble? Why not? It's fun.
What else are you doing?
What else? I mean, today you can go to your friends. Today I learned that in Persona 5 Royal there's an animated background on the phone wallpaper. There you go. What a great piece of trivia. I'm sure everyone will be baffled and will love it. Anyway,
I bought this game because some disembodied voice told me to do it.
Yeah,
I bought it because some guy said that, hey, the new toilet mechanic's really great. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Anyway, so yeah, that's our show. Hunter, where can they find you on the interwebs? Where can they go to hear more?
YouTube.com/ReaperHunter23.
There you go. And hey, Kyle, where can they find you? Where can they find you, Kyle?
You can find me up on Twitter.
Yeah.
At KDavisSRL. You'll find me tweeting about Animal Crossing mostly, because that's also what I've been doing.
Oh, next week we might talk about Animal Crossing as well, because
fuck this Easter event.
We'll do a progress update on Animal Crossing next week as well. So there you go. That's what you do.
I was watching someone visit people's islands on a stream last night, and I was looking at all the other islands, and I'm like, mine looks like shit compared to what they can do.
Oh yeah, everyone else has been like really
I've
working
seen recreations of like Zelda maps in the internet.
I saw like someone remade Pallet Town.
Oh my god!
Like what the fuck?
It's the one crazy. Yeah, it's the one.
Where do you find the time to do that?
I've got the building permits, but then that was the same day I started playing Persona, so now I'm just like, I hop onto Animal Crossing, do the things that I need to do in a day, and then I'm like, right, to Persona I go. So hopefully
I talked to Isabel today, and my island still has a 1-star rating.
To be fair, mine went from 1 to 3 in a single day, so I just started placing the fossils outside the museum, and it boosted the rating like massively. So there you go. That's what tip for you. If you want to get your island rated up quickly, just all the duplicate fossils you get, just stick them outside the museum. Apparently, it counts as art. Yeah, it counts as art. Just start throwing stuff around. Anyway, and if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at @WannaJames_ for updates. I don't really use it, but hey, do it. Also, YouTube, as I will say every week until it happens, YouTube videos coming soon, youtube.com/WannaJames. Why don't you go give that a subscribe, so that when you do find that one video that gets uploaded in 30 years' time, you're like, wow, I'm so glad that I subscribed to that channel.
Worth it.
On that note, yeah, worth it. What quality? If I've been refining that video for 30 years, imagine the quality. It'll probably just be an update video. It'll just be an update video.
Which would be impressive, because I usually wear sandals, so...
Well, there you go. Anyway, on that weird note, that's our show. Make sure to give us a good rating on whatever we're on at this point. At least Spotify and SoundCloud and YouTube. Please. iTunes, please accept the podcast already.
If they don't, we will go knock their ivory tower down.
Yes, but after quarantine, because we are staying indoors. We are staying indoors. At least I am, because I'm abiding by government law. I'm staying indoors. Anyway, we've been rambling long enough. Longest episode. Can only go up from here. Yeah, on that note, that's been our show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next week for some more Hot Gamers Only. Until then, bye.
See ya.
Toodaloo.